Why do the world's best smartphones feel outdated after just 2 years? In California, there's a light bulb that's been glowing for over 120 years, and it's still shining today. Funny enough, the company that made it went bankrupt nearly a century ago. Why? Because they built it too well. Customers never needed a replacement, and eventually the company ran out of buyers. Smart business people know this. Making a product too perfect can sometimes be the fastest way to kill your business. Let me tell you a story that explains this even better. At a busy market, a vendor was selling chili peppers. One day, a customer walked up and asked, "Are these peppers spicy?" It was a tricky question. If the seller said yes, he might lose customers who didn't like spicy food. But if he said no, spice lovers would walk away. So he came up with a smart solution. The darker ones are spicy, the lighter ones aren't. The customer happily picked out the dark peppers and left the rest. Another customer showed up and asked the same question. This time the seller replied, "The longer ones are spicy, the shorter ones aren't." Again, the customer made a selection and left. Then a third customer arrived. The seller told him, "The ones with firm skin are spicy, the softer ones aren't." In reality, some peppers had simply softened under the sun, making them harder to sell. But this trick helped him sell every single pepper. A great seller doesn't just solve problems, they reframe them, so the problem disappears entirely. In 2008, a man selling fish tanks was struggling. Nobody was buying. He was on the brink of closing his business when he had a wild idea. He bought 500 goldfish from a local fisherman. But instead of selling them, he asked the fisherman to release all 500 fish into a small nearby river. The fisherman was confused, but the man insisted, promising full payment. Soon, word spread, and locals flocked to the river to catch the goldfish. Those who caught one rushed to buy fish tanks. Others, hoping to catch a fish later, bought tanks in advance. Even as the seller raised prices, the tanks kept selling out. He didn't just sell fish tanks, he sold opportunity. Imagine a whole watermelon sitting on a grocery shelf for $3. No one bites, but cut it in half, add a cheap plastic spoon, and suddenly that same $3 half melon becomes a quick snack people want. And it sells out. The spoon isn't special, but it turns the melon into something convenient. And that's what sells. Money doesn't flow to the best products, it flows to the ones people feel they need. Making money isn't as hard as most people think. The real challenge is how you think about it.